The massive crystal chamber floated in the darkness of space, its walls shimmering with strange lights. Inside, creatures from across the galaxy sat in a perfect circle. Some had 4 arms, others had scales instead of skin, and a few glowed with their own inner light. They were the Galactic Council, the most powerful beings in known space. Ambassador Veltar stood up slowly. His blue skin rippled as he moved, and his 3 eyes focused on the floating screen in the center of the room. The screen showed a small blue and green planet spinning peacefully around a yellow star. "We have been watching the humans for 50 years, Veltar said in his deep, rumbling voice. "They are still very primitive. Their fastest ships can barely reach their own moon. They have no real weapons. They cannot even travel to other star systems." The other council members nodded. One creature that looked like a giant insect clicked its mandibles together. "Their technology is at least 1,000 years behind ours," it buzzed. "They are no threat to anyone." Council Prime Nexera, the leader of the group, leaned forward in her floating chair. She had silver skin and eyes that seemed to hold starlight. "So we continue to watch them from far away? We do not make contact." "Correct," Veltar replied. "The humans are Class C. That means they are too primitive for direct contact. We will keep watching them until they become more advanced. Maybe in another 100 years." The vote was quick. All members agreed. Earth would remain under secret observation. The humans would never know that alien eyes watched them from the darkness of space. But far away, in a different part of the galaxy, someone else had been listening to the Council's decision. General Krex sat in his command chair aboard the Warmoon Devastator. His red eyes glowed with hunger as he watched the same images of Earth. Krex was not like the peaceful Council members. He belonged to the Hegemony, a group of warriors who conquered weak planets and stole their resources. His ship was the size of a small moon, covered in weapons and armor. Behind him, a fleet of 200 similar vessels waited in the darkness. "So the humans are defenseless," Krex growled to his second-in-command. His voice sounded like grinding metal. "The Council thinks they are too weak to bother with. That makes them perfect for us." Lieutenant Vex, a smaller creature with sharp claws, bowed his head. "The planet looks rich in metals and water, General. And the humans have billions of workers already living there." Krex's mouth twisted into what might have been a smile. "Excellent. A primitive world with no real defenses and plenty of slaves. Prepare the fleet for immediate departure. We will reach their system in 3 days." "What about the Galactic Council's protection laws?" Vex asked nervously. "The Council only protects civilizations they have made contact with," Krex laughed coldly. "Since Earth is still under observation, they have no legal protection. By the time the Council learns what happened, we will control the entire system." While the Hegemony fleet began moving toward Earth, the humans they planned to conquer were not as helpless as everyone believed. Deep under a mountain in Colorado, Colonel James Mitchell sat in a room that did not officially exist. The walls were lined with screens showing space around Earth's solar system. Mitchell was 60 years old, with gray hair and tired eyes. He had spent the last 30 years of his life preparing for this day. Around him, dozens of technicians worked at computers that hummed with strange energy. "Sir, we're detecting massive movement in Sector 7, reported Lieutenant Emma Clark. She was young, maybe 25, with short brown hair and sharp green eyes. "The quantum sensors are picking up at least 200 large objects heading our way." Mitchell nodded slowly. He had expected this for years. "How long until they reach our outer defense perimeter?" 72 hours, sir." Mitchell walked to a thick window that looked down into an enormous underground chamber. Inside, massive machines covered in wires and strange crystals hummed with barely controlled power. Thousands of workers moved between the machines like ants. "Emma, send the alert to all Shadow Gate installations," Mitchell said quietly. "Authorization code Black Dawn." Emma's fingers trembled slightly as she typed. "Sir, are you sure? Once we activate the gates, there's no going back. The whole galaxy will know what we really are." Mitchell stared out at the machines below. Each one was connected to a device that could tear holes in space itself. For 40 years, humanity had been building these machines in secret. The technology came from strange artifacts found buried all over Earth, artifacts that seemed to have been left by someone who knew humanity would need them one day. "The choice was never ours to make, Emma," Mitchell said sadly. "They're coming to destroy us or make us slaves. We always knew this day would come." 3 levels down, Captain David Turner checked the final preparations. His job was to make sure the Shadow Gate network was ready. 13 massive portals hidden throughout the solar system, each one connected to humanity's greatest secret. All gates show green status, Turner reported to his team. The Shadow Fleet is standing by in dimensional storage. Turner looked at the main gate in his facility. It was a perfect circle of metal and crystal, 30 meters across, currently showing nothing but darkness. But Turner knew that on the other side of that darkness waited ships that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. The aliens thought Earth was weak and defenseless. They were about to learn how wrong they were. In space, the Hegemony fleet continued its approach, confident in their easy victory. They had destroyed dozens of primitive worlds before. Earth would be just another conquest. But this time, they were flying into a trap that had been 40 years in the making. The Hegemony fleet appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system like a dark storm. 200 massive ships dropped out of hyperspace, each one the size of a city. Their black hulls gleamed with weapon ports and armor plating that had conquered a dozen worlds. General Krex stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Devastator. Through the enormous viewing window, he could see the small blue planet that would soon belong to him. His red eyes glowed with satisfaction as his sensors detected the pathetic human response. "Look at them scramble," Krex laughed, his voice echoing through the bridge. 50 primitive ships against our mighty fleet. This will be over in minutes. The human ships that rose to meet the aliens were small and simple compared to the Hegemony vessels. They looked like metal boxes with engines attached, nothing like the sleek war machines bearing down on them. Admiral Robert Hayes commanded the human defense from the bridge of the Defender. He was a tall man with white hair and calm blue eyes that had seen many battles. But he had never faced anything like this before. "This is Admiral Hayes of the United Earth Space Command," he broadcast on all radio frequencies. "You have entered our space without permission. State your business here." Krex's reply came through the speakers, his words spoken in broken but understandable English. "I am General Krex of the Hegemony. Your planet will surrender now. You will become our workers. You will give us your metals and your water. You have 1 hour to agree." Hayes looked at his officers around the bridge. They all knew this moment had been planned for. "Negative, General Krex. Humanity does not bow to threats. If you want our world, you'll have to take it." "Then you will die," Krex snarled. The first shots lit up the darkness of space. The Hegemony plasma cannons fired beams of pure energy that could melt through solid steel. The human ships fired back with missiles and laser weapons that seemed like toys in comparison. Captain Susan Reed watched from the bridge of her destroyer Courage as the alien beam weapons tore through human ships like paper. "Shields down to 30%, her weapons officer shouted. "Direct hit on the port side." All across the battle zone, human ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light. The conventional weapons that Earth had built could barely scratch the alien armor, while their energy weapons cut through human hulls with ease. Within 30 minutes, half the human fleet was destroyed or badly damaged. Admiral Hayes gave the order he had hoped never to give. "All ships, fall back to defensive positions around Earth. Prepare for planetary bombardment protocols." On Earth, people watched the battle on their television screens with growing horror. News reporter Margaret Wells stood in her studio, trying to keep her voice steady as she read the reports. "The human fleet is retreating toward Earth," she announced to billions of viewers. "Military officials are not responding to questions about possible surrender. It appears that our defenses have failed against the alien invasion force." In cities around the world, people looked up at the night sky where they could see the flashes of light from the battle. Many began to panic, running for shelters or trying to escape to the countryside. It looked like humanity was about to be conquered by creatures from another world. But deep underground in Colorado, Colonel Mitchell was far from panic. He stood in the control room, watching displays that showed not just the battle above, but 13 hidden installations throughout the solar system. "Phase 1 is complete," he announced to the officers around him. "The enemy believes our conventional fleet represents our full military capability. They think they have already won." Major Patricia Williams, a woman with short black hair and sharp brown eyes, checked her instruments. "All Shadow Gate installations report ready status, sir. The hidden fleet is positioned and waiting for your command." Mitchell had spent his entire career preparing for this moment. For 40 years, humanity had let the galaxy think they were weak and primitive. The time for deception was ending. "Major Williams, send the activation signal to all gates. Operation Dark Dawn is now active." "Sir, once we do this, there's no hiding anymore. The whole galaxy will know what we really are." Mitchell nodded grimly. "The choice was made for us the moment they opened fire on our ships. Activate the Shadow Gate network." Throughout the solar system, space itself began to change. Near Jupiter, a perfect circle of energy appeared in the emptiness, crackling with power that made nearby asteroids glow. Similar portals opened near Mars, beyond Pluto, and in the asteroid belt. General Krex was preparing to order the bombardment of Earth when his sensor officer suddenly screamed. "General! Unknown energy signatures appearing throughout the system. Something is opening dimensional rifts." Krex spun around to look at his displays. Across the solar system, circular portals of pure energy were tearing open in space itself. "What are those things?" he demanded. "Unknown, sir. The energy readings are beyond our measurement capabilities." Then, through the first portal, something emerged that made Krex's blood run cold. A ship unlike anything he had ever seen slid through the dimensional gateway. It was sleek and angular, its hull seeming to absorb light itself. It moved through space like a hunting predator. Then another ship appeared. And another. Within minutes, dozens of vessels were emerging from the portals, each one radiating power that his senses couldn't measure. "Impossible," Krex whispered. "The intelligence report said they were primitive. These ships, they're more advanced than ours." His communications officer's voice was shaking. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the unknown fleet." The voice that came through the speakers was calm and deadly. "General Krex, this is Admiral Thomas Blake of the Shadow Fleet. You came here expecting to find a defenseless world. You were wrong. Surrender now, or face the consequences." Krex stared at the new fleet in disbelief. Everything he had been told about humanity was a lie. The dimensional rifts grew larger, crackling with energy that made space itself bend and twist. From the 13 portals scattered throughout the solar system, humanity's true fleet began to emerge. General Krex watched in horror as sleek, black ships slid through the dimensional gateways like deadly shadows. These vessels moved in ways that seemed to defy the laws of physics, turning and accelerating without any visible thrust from engines. "How many ships are coming through?" Krex demanded from his bridge crew. His sensor officer's voice shook as he read the displays. "I count 50, no, 100, sir, they just keep coming. The energy signatures are unlike anything in our databases." Admiral Thomas Blake stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, the flagship of humanity's Shadow Fleet. Unlike the simple metal boxes of Earth's conventional navy, his ship hummed with exotic technology that had taken decades to perfect. The bridge walls showed not screens, but direct views of space created by advanced sensors. Blake was 55 years old, with gray hair and steel blue eyes that had seen too many classified briefings. He had commanded the Shadow Fleet for 15 years, waiting for this day when humanity would finally reveal its true strength. "All Shadow Fleet vessels, this is Admiral Blake," he spoke into his communication system. "Operation Dark Dawn is now active. Show these invaders what happens when they threaten Earth." The first Shadow Fleet ship to engage was the destroyer Nightfall, commanded by Captain Helen Porter. Her vessel was half the size of the smallest hegemony cruiser, but it moved through space like liquid mercury. "Gravity manipulation systems online," Porter announced to her crew. "Target the lead enemy cruiser. Let's give them a demonstration." The alien plasma beams that had torn through human conventional ships seemed to bend around the Nightfall. The destroyer's hull absorbed the energy and somehow redirected it harmlessly into space. "Impossible," shouted the weapons officer on Krex's flagship. "Our plasma cannons are having no effect on their armor." Captain Porter's ship suddenly vanished from where it had been and appeared instantly behind the hegemony cruiser. The Nightfall had folded space around itself, traveling several thousand kilometers in the blink of an eye. "Fire main weapon," Porter ordered calmly. A beam of pure darkness shot from the destroyer's main gun. The energy was so black it seemed to eat light itself. When it struck the alien cruiser's shields, they collapsed immediately. The beam continued through the armor plating like it was made of paper. The hegemony cruiser exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the darkness of space. General Krex stared at his tactical display in disbelief. One of his most powerful warships had been destroyed by a vessel half its size. "What kind of weapons are they using?" "Unknown energy type, sir," his science officer reported. "It appears to be some form of controlled dark matter projection." Another Shadow Fleet vessel, the fighter Wraith piloted by Commander Jessica Fox, demonstrated humanity's second major advantage. As hegemony ships fired at her small craft, the fighter's hull began to change color and texture. "Adaptive armor responding to enemy fire," the ship's computer announced in Jessica's earpiece. "Plasma cannon frequency analyzed. Adjusting defensive matrix." The alien weapons that had destroyed conventional human ships suddenly became useless against Jessica's fighter. The plasma beams struck her hull and simply vanished, absorbed by armor that had learned how to counter them. Their ships are adapting to our weapons in real time, Krex's tactical officer reported with growing panic. Our most powerful guns are becoming ineffective after just a few shots. What the hegemony didn't know was that humanity had found ancient artifacts buried all over Earth 40 years ago. These mysterious devices contained technology from a civilization that had fought similar battles long ago. Earth scientists had spent decades studying and improving upon these alien gifts. Captain Oliver Grant commanded the heavy cruiser Eclipse, one of the largest ships in the Shadow Fleet. His vessel carried humanity's most devastating weapon, a device that could manipulate the fundamental forces of the universe. Target their command ship, Grant ordered his weapons officer. Charge the quantum disruptor to full power. The Eclipse fired a beam that seemed to make space itself ripple. When the energy struck General Krex's flagship, the massive vessel simply stopped working. Its engines died, its weapons powered down, and its life support systems began to fail. "All systems offline," screamed Krex's engineering officer. "The quantum structure of our hull is breaking apart at the molecular level." From the Prometheus, Admiral Blake coordinated the battle with cold precision. Each Shadow Fleet captain had trained for this moment for years, and their ships worked together like parts of a single organism. "Captain Lewis, take your squadron and disable their troop transports," Blake ordered. "Captain Moore, I want their supply ships neutralized. Don't let any of them escape to warn their home worlds." The hegemony fleet that had seemed so powerful just minutes before was being systematically destroyed. Ships that had conquered dozens of worlds found themselves helpless against technology they couldn't understand. General Krex tried desperately to salvage the situation. "All ships, retreat to jump coordinates. Emergency hyperspace departure." But the Shadow Fleet had one final surprise waiting. As the surviving hegemony vessels tried to flee, space around them began to solidify. The same dimensional technology that had hidden humanity's fleet now trapped the aliens in normal space. "We can't jump to hyperspace," Krex's navigator reported in terror. "Something is preventing our engines from opening a dimensional rift." Admiral Blake's voice carried across all communication frequencies, reaching every ship in both fleets. "General Krex, you came here believing Earth was defenseless. You thought humanity was primitive and weak. You were wrong on both counts." The Shadow Fleet surrounded the remaining hegemony vessels like wolves circling wounded prey. The battle was over, and everyone knew it. "This is what happens when you threaten our home," Blake continued. "You wanted to see humanity's true capabilities. Now you have your answer." The destruction of the hegemony fleet sent shock waves across the galaxy. In the crystal chamber of the Galactic Council, emergency meetings had been called as reports flooded in from every corner of known space. Ambassador Veltar stared at the tactical displays with his three eyes wide in disbelief. The data showed energy readings that shouldn't exist and weapon signatures that defied everything he knew about physics. "The humans aren't primitive," he whispered to the other council members. "They've been lying to us for decades." Council Prime Nexere leaned forward in her floating chair, her silver skin pale with worry. "These energy measurements, some of this technology is more advanced than anything we possess. How is this possible?" Meanwhile, Captain Oliver Grant of the Shadow Fleet vessel Eclipse was leading search missions through the wreckage of the hegemony fleet. What his teams found in the alien computer systems made his blood run cold. "Admiral Blake," Grant reported from his ship's bridge, "we've recovered their invasion plans." "Sir, Earth wasn't their first target. They've done this before, many times." In the strategy room of the Prometheus, Admiral Blake studied the recovered data with his senior officers. The holographic displays showed star map after star map, each one marking a world that had been conquered and stripped of resources. Major Rebecca Stone, the fleet's intelligence officer, presented her analysis. She was a small woman with red hair and green eyes that missed nothing. "Sir, we've identified at least 43 civilizations that were completely destroyed by the hegemony over the past century." Blake's jaw tightened as he looked at the evidence. "How many survivors?" "None, sir. Once the hegemony finished extracting resources from a planet, they eliminated the entire population to prevent future resistance." The implications were staggering. The galaxy wasn't the peaceful place that Earth's observers had believed. It was a hunting ground where powerful civilizations preyed on weaker ones. Dr. Anthony Wright, Earth's leading expert on alien technology, addressed the command staff through a secure video link from his laboratory. He was an elderly man with white hair and thick glasses, surrounded by strange artifacts that hummed with alien energy. The archaeological evidence supports our worst fears, Dr. Wright explained. The artifacts we found buried on Earth weren't left by accident. They were deliberately placed there by a civilization that faced the same threats we're facing now. Captain Laura Davis, commanding the stealth ship Phantom, had been conducting deep space reconnaissance missions beyond the former hegemony territory. Her reports painted an even darker picture of galactic civilization. "Admiral, I've identified 3 other major powers that use the same conquest tactics as the hegemony," Davis reported during a secured transmission. "The galaxy operates on a system where the strong prey on the weak, and the Galactic Council either can't or won't stop it." Blake realized that humanity's emergence had done more than save Earth. They had potentially disrupted an entire system of galactic predation that had been operating for centuries. In the depths of space, the Shadow Fleet continued to uncover evidence of the galaxy's true nature. Commander Jessica Fox, now piloting a reconnaissance fighter, discovered hidden slave processing stations where conquered populations were held before being shipped to work camps. "There are thousands of them," Jessica reported, her voice heavy with emotion as she transmitted images of the prison facilities. Men, women, children from dozens of different worlds, all waiting to be sold as workers. The discovery changed everything for humanity. They weren't just defending Earth anymore, they were potentially the only force in the galaxy capable of stopping centuries of systematic oppression. Captain Helen Porter, commanding the destroyer Nightfall, led a rescue mission to one of the slave stations. Her ship's advanced sensors detected life signs from multiple species, many of them from worlds the hegemony had liberated according to their official records. "We're reading over 10,000 life forms aboard that station," Porter reported to Admiral Blake. "Sir, these people have been in captivity for years." The rescue operation revealed the true scope of the galactic horror. Beings from across the galaxy had been torn from their homes and families, reduced to nothing more than property by their captors. Among the rescued was a being called Kelthon from the Centauri system. He was tall and thin, with blue skin and large dark eyes that held years of pain and hope. "You're really from Earth?" Kelthon asked Dr. Wright through a translator device. "The story said your world was primitive, that you had no space travel." "We let people believe that," Dr. Wright replied gently. "We've been watching the galaxy for a long time, learning about civilizations like yours that needed protection." The truth was even more complex than the rescued aliens could imagine. Humanity had detected galactic civilization 50 years ago, but instead of announcing their presence, they had chosen to remain hidden while they studied the true nature of galactic politics. Major Stone's intelligence analysis revealed the full picture. The Galactic Council's classification system isn't designed to protect developing civilizations, she explained to Earth's leadership. It's designed to identify targets for exploitation. Any world labeled as primitive becomes fair game for conquest. Captain David Turner, who had overseen the Shadow Gate construction, reported on humanity's next phase of preparation. "We're establishing hidden bases in 12 star systems, sir. If other predatory powers decide to challenge us, we'll be ready." The Shadow Gate network was expanding beyond Earth's solar system, creating a web of dimensional portals that would allow humanity to defend not just themselves, but other civilizations that couldn't protect themselves. Admiral Blake stood before a holographic map of the galaxy, watching as red markers indicated hostile civilizations and blue markers showed potential allies. The scope of what humanity faced was enormous. "We're not just defending Earth anymore," he told his senior staff. "We're defending the idea that civilizations should be free to develop without fear of conquest." The galaxy was about to learn that humanity didn't just fight to protect themselves. They fought to protect everyone who couldn't protect themselves. 6 months after the destruction of the hegemony fleet, Admiral Thomas Blake stood in the Great Crystal Chamber of the Galactic Council. He was the first human ever to address the governing body of galactic civilization, and every alien eye was fixed on him. Blake activated his holographic display, showing detailed maps of trade routes, military positions, and secret operations across the galaxy. The alien representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats as they realized how much humanity knew about their civilizations. "Honorable Council members," Blake began, his voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber, "humanity has been observing your activities for much longer than you have been watching us." Murmurs of shock rippled through the assembled delegates as Blake continued. "We know about the slave markets hidden in the outer sectors. We know about the systematic destruction of developing worlds. We know about the resources stolen from civilizations too weak to defend themselves." Council Prime Nexera tried to maintain her composure, but her silver skin had turned pale. "Admiral Blake," surely you don't mean to accuse this council of wrongdoing. Not accuse, Blake replied calmly. Simply inform. The Galactic Council has failed in its duty to protect weaker civilizations. That failure ends today. To demonstrate humanity's resolve, Captain Helen Porter's destroyer Nightfall suddenly appeared in the space above the Council station. The ship had bypassed every security system and defense grid without being detected. Back in Earth's solar system, the true scale of humanity's preparation became visible for the first time. Massive orbital platforms that had been disguised as simple research stations revealed themselves as advanced weapons systems. The asteroid belt flickered as hundreds of hidden facilities deactivated their camouflage. Captain Jessica Fox, now promoted to lead humanity's first diplomatic mission, traveled to the Centauri Collective. This group of smaller civilizations had been the hegemony's next target before the Shadow Fleet intervened. Ambassador Kelthan, the being humanity had rescued from the slave station, welcomed Jessica to his home world. His blue skin seemed brighter now, and hope had returned to his large dark eyes. The humans saved not just my life, but the lives of millions across 12 star systems, Kelthan declared in a broadcast that reached across the galaxy. Their Shadow Fleet arrived just as hegemony forces prepared to invade our colonies. Dr. Anthony Wright had established the Interspecies Protection Protocol, offering humanity's defensive technology to civilizations threatened by aggressive powers. But the offer came with strict conditions: no attacks on other worlds, no exploitation of primitive civilizations, and full cooperation in maintaining galactic peace. Major Rebecca Stone, now heading the new Galactic Intelligence Division, coordinated humanity's growing network of allies from her base on Lunar Station. "We have formal defense agreements with 62 civilizations," she reported to Earth's leadership. "The galaxy is beginning to reorganize around cooperation instead of conquest." However, not everyone accepted the new order. Three major powers, the Dominion, the Star Empire, and the Confederation, had formed what they called the Coalition of Supremacy. They believed humanity's emergence threatened the natural order of galactic civilization. Captain Oliver Grant's reconnaissance ships had been monitoring coalition preparations. His reports painted a grim picture of what humanity faced. "They are building the largest war fleet in galactic history," Grant reported from his hidden observation post. Conservative estimates put their combined forces at over 3,000 vessels. Admiral Blake studied the intelligence from his command center on Lunar Station. The new facility was built into the moon's surface, protected by the same dimensional technology that powered the Shadow Gates. "They think they can overwhelm us with numbers," Blake said to his senior staff. "They're about to learn why that won't work." The Shadow Gate network had grown far beyond Earth's solar system. Hidden portals now existed in 40 star systems, each one connected to humanity's expanding fleet of advanced vessels. When the Coalition finally attacked, they expected to face a single human fleet defending Earth. Instead, they found themselves fighting dozens of shadow fleets that emerged from dimensional rifts across multiple star systems simultaneously. Captain Laura Davis commanded one of these distributed fleets from her flagship Phoenix. Her ships appeared behind Coalition forces in the Vega system, catching them completely off guard. "Enemy fleet engaging our rear guard," came the panic transmission from a Coalition commander. "How did they get behind us?" The war that Coalition leaders thought would last months ended in just 3 weeks. Their forces, spread across multiple systems, found themselves facing human fleets that seemed to appear from nowhere and disappear just as quickly. Captain Helen Porter led the final assault on the Coalition's main base. Her destroyer Nightfall and 50 other Shadow Fleet vessels emerged directly inside the enemy's defensive perimeter. "Coalition fleet, this is Captain Porter," she broadcast on all frequencies. "You are surrounded and outgunned. Surrender immediately or face the consequences." The Coalition commanders, watching their most powerful fortress being taken without a shot being fired, had no choice but to surrender. As Admiral Blake accepted the Coalition's formal surrender, he made humanity's position clear to the entire galaxy. "Earth doesn't seek to rule the galaxy. We seek to protect it from those who would prey upon the weak." In the months that followed, the Galactic Council was completely reformed. Instead of a body that ignored systematic oppression, it became a true cooperative organization dedicated to protecting all civilizations. The Shadow Fleet became the galaxy's peacekeeping force, ensuring that no civilization could prey upon its neighbors. Humanity's advanced technology, combined with their growing alliance of free worlds, proved unstoppable against any aggressive power. From the research stations hidden in Earth's asteroid belt to the far reaches of galactic space, humanity had become exactly what the ancient artifacts had intended. They were the guardians who would ensure that the cycle of galactic predation finally came to an end. The galaxy had discovered something that would change everything. When Earth was threatened, humanity didn't just fight back, they fought to ensure such threats could never arise again. The age of galactic predation was over, and the age of galactic cooperation had begun.